Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Self-Love Lounge. With us today is the one and only Denise Drinkwalter, an empowerment life coach that is going to talk to us all about the significance of self-nourishment. So Denise, welcome. Tell us all about you.
It's so great to be here with you. Thank you so much for having me today, Elizabeth. All about me. Well, I am a retiree. I've been retired since 2018. I had an incredible career in education for 31 years. I'm from the old school where you decided what career you wanted, you dug deep, you stayed there, and when it was over, 31 years seems to be a long time, but it went like that, as you can well imagine.
Yes.
And so when I finished my career as an educator, I actually retired out as a principal. I was a behavior resource teacher for a number of years and a classroom teacher. And so I've had a wealth of experience with a wealth of individuals who brought knowledge and gifted me with so much learning over those 31 years. It is such an honor to have had that opportunity. When I retired, I had the honor of being a grandma, and we now have 3 grandchildren. And I started some childcare, helping and supporting mom and dad so they could go back to work full time, which has been fabulous. But there was something deep inside of me saying, there's something more. You need to, I don't know what it is, but you need to do something more. It's great to be a grandma and spending quality time playing every day. Hello, who doesn't want to do that? But there was more for me. And so things just started to evolve and grow and develop. And one thing led to another, and I am now an empowerment life coach, and I love supporting women across the globe to make sure that they look after themselves in ways that they've never given themselves permission to do before. And so the whole idea, you can tell I'm a self-care kind of person. I love the nails. I love doing the hair. I love the makeup. It's all me. It's what I love to do. But there was always something missing in that. And so what I found is the self-care has moved to the next level for me. And it is now becoming what I love to refer to as self-nourishment. And, you know, if we think about nourishing, what does that enlist when people think of the word nourishment? I mean, it's fulfilling, right? It's massively, what would I say? Not fill. The filling is what's coming up for me, but it's bigger than that. It's more profound than that. It's bigger. And so when we start with, I tend to believe that our world generally as people, what we do is think about outside to inside. And as women in particular, don't you find that we put ourselves last on that list? And so you hear the buzzword self-care, self-care, self-care. And absolutely, I agree with that. But I love to push the envelope and say, take that word self-care and go to the terminology of self-nourishment. And what does that even connotate in your body? What does that even bring up inside your body when you change care to nourishment? It just is more enriching, the word itself. It just starts another level of growth and opportunity in my soul, right? In my heart and my mind and soul. So it's a very long-winded way to say where I was and where I am today. And I have to say, I'm a mother of 3 incredible adult children from the ages of 28 to 30, 33 now, I think. I don't even know. I lose track because when I think about them, that means I'm that much older, and I never think of myself as being 60, but I am. So
It's the new 50. It's okay, Denise. It's okay.
Exactly.
I always say I'm really in my 30s. We're good.
Right? 30 times 2. Doesn't matter.
I love the idea. I love the idea of the nourishment concept. And to me, what that means is when I think of nourish, I think of my body, right? So I think about, what does my body need? What is it saying if I listen? And
Mm,
what do I need to give it? Does that make sense?
totally.
So
Totally.
I know for me, I've really leaned into getting out of my head and into my body and saying, what do you need? What does your body say you need? Whether it's rest, food, exercise, maybe it's just a chat. So, would you describe to me, because I have a lot of very process driven women,
Hmm.
you say self nourishment and you're teaching self nourishment. What are some of the specific things you are asking women to do to practice self nourishment?
It's a fabulous question, because
Mm-hmm.
what I do find is women love the terminology, love the concept. Oh, that's so, and
Yeah.
how do I do this? Is the next question. What do I do? There's a few things that are really key, in my opinion and my experience. Okay.
Well,
One is an infamous saying that my father used to say, and for many people in your audience, they might, oh, yeah, I've heard that before. Rome was not built in a day.
ooh,
So,
love
this is not a concept that, okay, give me the package, Denise, let me go. It's a journey. And so starting very small is key.
that. Hmm.
Not jumping into, I need to do all of this stuff, because what happens is, when tell me how to do it, I'm excited, but I'm also like, I've got to do it right, because that's what we tend to do. There is no right or wrong. It's your journey, it's your process. And doing it in small, tiny, incremental steps means that it's going to actually start to help shift you in ways you can't even begin to imagine. So there's no prescription. It's not like, go ahead and do this and this will happen, because it's the experience within,
Ooh, love that.
right?
I'd love you to expand on that too. The experience within. Tell me more.
So you tapped into it, and I smiled when you said it, because you were talking about, your awareness. I need to listen to my body, right?
Mhm.
That is absolutely true, but how do you begin to do that?
Mhm.
Right? How do you begin to understand that your body is giving you messages? Because we're so attuned to the outside world that we're not tuned into ourselves as who we are as a person. And we've done life, and we as everybody, like, this is how life goes. But, not but, I'm going to say, and the opportunity exists for us to explore and get curious. And when we come across that wording, it can begin the shifting. Words that we use are key. And we don't think about how we language and the power of our words. So I start a lot with the power of word to help with this kind of shifting. So, what does nourishment? You can even start with understanding what you believe nourishment means.
I don't know why, but I'm thinking of blueberries. I'm like, I think of fruit, I think of vegetables, I think of something that is like going to benefit my body in some way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're taking it in the way that makes sense for you, and that's what has to
Mhm.
happen. It has to make sense for each person individually. So it
Yeah.
can also depend on what's going on in your life right now. Perhaps your focus is, I'm looking after my wellness, my physicality,
Mhm.
wellness. So your
Yeah.
focus for nourishment could very well land in fruits and vegetables. It could very well land in consumption of water daily, right?
Oh,
That
yes.
is absolutely fine. That is beautiful. So
Yeah.
start to actually look at that. But
Mm.
not only just the process of, I need to eat my fruits and vegetables. How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that so it's making sense for you? How are you feeling about the idea of creating a menu, a plan, a daily intake? How are you feeling about that? Does it feel like I have to do this?
Mhm.
Or here's where you can start to flip your words. I get to do this because I'm making a choice. Getting to shifts things very quickly. So you can stay, instead of saying, I have to eat 3 servings of fruits and vegetables every day, I get to. Why are you choosing to do that? Because I want to feel better in my body. I get to feel better in my body. And I'm acknowledging that I'm getting more information, I'm researching more, whatever works for you, right? So that can be, but you can, then the important piece around it, especially if you're looking at, say, the fruit and vegetable piece or the daily water intake, start to track it. Start to just tick, yes, I did 2 servings. Yay me. Yesterday I only did 1. Celebrate the small wins.
Yes.
Celebration, we leave to big monumental events, but those events don't happen just instantaneously. There's been background work that we haven't paid attention to, that we haven't celebrated. Imagine celebrating every single day just because we get to. Why not? Right?
Yes. I love that. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. And I know for me, it's really being clear about the intention, right? And that's another big word. But if we are intentional about the things we're choosing to eat, the things we're choosing to do, the things we're choosing to say, it makes a huge difference in our day to day, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how, I'm just curious, and
Yeah.
I don't be in spot, but I'm curious.
No.
So when you come to women and you're explaining this and you're asking them to start putting this in motion, is this something that you get resistance on? And if you do, how do you overcome that?
It's so interesting you ask. It's not even that I would suggest I get resistance on it. It's just that it's so foreign.
Okay. Okay.
So it's not necessarily a resistance because there's a drive to want to change. It's the unknown. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how. Well, that's what we get to explore. And even though we begin wherever we are on our journey with my client or clients, what happens is they might start in a spot, and that's beautiful. That's a great starting spot. It doesn't matter. We choose what works and what really resonates because there has to be a desire and an interest. And once that starts to happen, then we start tweaking. Okay, so what makes sense? Here's some possibilities. Is there anything in, oh, I would really like blah, blah, blah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's start there. But what happens, and hey, I'm guilty of it.
Yep.
The intention is so big that it's really hard to reach. So what happens is the bite is too big and it doesn't go down. It doesn't get swallowed, right? And so it stays in our mouth and the taste just after a while, it doesn't work. And so we drop off. There's learning in that, huge learning in that. And so whatever we do, we take the information and we take the learning and move it forward. So we don't beat ourselves up about what didn't happen. We get curious about where the pieces didn't align for us and what does that tell us about ourselves. Mm-hmm. So we do a ton of reflective work. Yes. And a lot of the things that I do when I support my clients is I listen. Mm-hmm. It's a gift I seem to have. It was something that worked so well even in my world of education. Was I have a very I'm going to say keen sense of observation and listening. And it's taken years to develop, but I hear what people are saying. There's a lot of reading between lines and watching body language and all the energy work that I've done. I can kind of pull pieces together that they don't see. And what we tend to do is we see the negative rather than the positive in ourselves. So I help them see what they're seeing as negative. I help them see what is possible because of that component that they feel is so draining and disappointing and upsetting. I show them the other side of that coin and what that actually does to empower them. And then things start shaping and taking off like I can't even predict, because it's their journey, right? It's really fascinating.
I call that going from self-judgment to self-compassion.
100%. And I would add awareness.
Oh, you have to, right? You can't change anything without being aware of it.
Bingo.
So, I mean, I think that kind of came full circle when you're saying Rome isn't built in a day, which I love that, because we do have to start small. Otherwise, we just lead to overwhelm and then we quit because, well, forget it. So I think it's important to start small, to celebrate your successes, to kind of implement each of these. So then what?
So then you just start tuning into more around your emotions.
Okay.
So tuning into how is it making you feel and seeing where the connections lie, right? So for example, if we're talking about self-care, which is, again, what I love to do, but it's the exterior part. So I start to reflect on, why does that feel so good, short-term good in my body when I get my nails done? Why does that feel so good when I get my hair done? What is it about that experience that I love, right? And where's that coming from? So then we pull things apart and start to really understand what brings ourselves that inner joy. Because for years, we've been experiencing it from the outside in. And now what we're doing is taking that, pulling it together, and really understanding what brings us joy so that we develop it within our own selves. So one of the things, my ultimate vision and mission for the world, women around the world in particular, is for you to understand the power that you have within yourself to give back to you. You don't need the external to understand how worthy and valuable you are as an individual. So seeing yourself as a person, as a real, true human being, and not because of your identities and your roles that you're needed, but giving that love back to yourself.
Okay, now you're going into a whole new conversation. Identities and roles. Now you're speaking my jam. Because I think women notoriously, and I know we talked about this a little bit before, but I think women notoriously are caretakers and nurturers, right? And they feel like it's their job to kind of keep all the balloons in the air, as I always say, kind of keep everything together. What would you say to that woman?
It's interesting. It's a great question. Again, I would tap into, what is it about what you are doing that really brings you that positive energy? So starting to really grasp, what is it in keeping the balloons in the air that really makes you feel so amazing? And starting to really grasp and understand what that's about. And what we do is we find out as we go through the layers that it could be something that is tied back to many, many years ago when you don't even remember, which is fine. I'm not saying being a mom, doing the work life, like that isn't good stuff. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is when those things change and morph, and this has been my experience, when those things change and morph and they're gone because things are different, I'm retired now, my kids are all gone, all that good stuff, then you are left with you in the mirror. It's like, ooh, but I identified myself as the mom. I identified myself as the principal. I identified myself as the teacher. And so nothing wrong with that, except what I didn't do is spend time identifying myself as who I am in all of that.
But I think where the struggle comes in is women feel guilty thinking about themselves when they are in that role of being a mom, a wife, a coworker, a boss, whatever the case may be. You know, it leaves very little time to focus on who am I? So how do you balance, right? So that you don't get in a position when all of that goes away to feel completely lost? How do you balance it in the process so that you can feel a sense of self and still be those other things?
My experience is such that when we take time, this is my mantra, for yourself, by yourself, because of yourself, when you do that, you will be a stronger, more empowered support for all the other things that you do, because you fill your self up in ways that you've never thought about before, because you never take the time to do that. So taking time and space to give yourself this time, and time is very interesting, because what happens is we think, well, I don't have an hour every day. We're not talking an hour every day. Like I said at the very beginning, we start small. Take, for some people, and I would have been in this boat, like a minute a day. And even the concept, I couldn't take time like a minute for myself. What would people think? It's so fascinating when you actually carve out a minute and just literally sit with a cup of tea. Doesn't matter what thoughts come through your mind. It doesn't matter. You're just going through the journey, the process. Just start small and consistent. And once we start doing that, things start growing for us without us even having to lift a finger. So when we start taking that time in small chunks consistently, things start changing, because we start to realize, we start to see the benefits, the effects of taking that time for ourselves. Other people get a benefit from us taking time for ourselves. And I know it sounds crazy. It doesn't sound possible. It's counterintuitive. The world at large has created the idea of what the role needs to look like, sound like, and feel like. And we've just continued to, yes, and feel like this is really good. This is what I'm supposed to do. And when we do it well, it's then you get the badge of honor, right? But in reality, we've missed a huge part along the way. And that's my goal, is to help people see we don't have to miss anything anymore. And when we pour back into ourselves, everybody else benefits. I see it time after time after time after time. And it sounds counterintuitive. Trust the journey. Trust your self-love, which is something that's the hardest thing for my clients to do, is give back to themselves. Totally, 100%. So you're not alone.
Yeah, it's changing the programming that we've been given, right? All that conditioning that we've been taught for years and years, that, when you grow up, you get the house, the husband, the kids, and you live life a certain way, but who says, right? Like, so it's changing that messaging to ourselves, to our children. It's kind of rewriting that script. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. And the great thing that happens when my clients start doing and actually journeying this for you, by you, because of you, their children change too. And relationships that were strained and stressful change. Sometimes people fall off, and that's what needed to happen, and it's fine, because you know who you are now, and that's fine. That's brilliant. That's the goal. Giving back to ourselves. We should be able to live the life we really, really want to live. Is it going to be rosy all the time? Of course not. I don't have rose-colored glasses, but I look at the learning when things go side, like, why am I going this way? This is interesting. Let me get curious as to why this is happening now. What is in my opportunity for growth here, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That was beautiful. Thank you. That's yes. So what would you say to your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Two things. Trust yourself and believe that you are going to receive everything you need to live your life the way that it is meant to be.
And why would you say those two things?
Because I would say your life and the decisions you get to make allow for the path that has already been, basically, I believe there is a reincarnation to a degree here. And so for me, it's like there's a reason for everything. My grandfather once told me, I was down in the dumps. I had come back from this excursion I was on. I was on a 9-month program that we have here in Canada. And I met him. They lived in a half hour away from me, and the train came to their area. So he picked me up, and then my parents came to get me, blah, blah, blah. And I was not in a good spot. And he said, you know, Denise, life happens for a reason, and we don't always understand when we're in the middle of challenges, but it will all become clear to you over time. Do not worry. As long as you are healthy and everything will work out the way it is meant to be. I was 17 at the time, and I'm like, okay, Grandpa, but it stuck with me for a reason. Yeah. Right? What do you know, Grandpa? You knew a lot.
That
right?
is so
And
true,
so,
though.
yeah, totally. And, you know, when we spend time sitting in remorse and regret and guilt, we're only shortening our opportunities for self-love, self-nourishment.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And there is a lot of guilt out there.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, hello, put my hand up.
Yeah. I think
I'm
driver, right? It's a big driver.
Yeah, you're human. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for me, that's so important that I understand now. And I'm so grateful for the people that I get to meet through the work that I'm doing now. It's enriching my life so much, you know?
Much.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to, partly for my own purposes, but I feel like I need to ask you about, I know some of your work entails working with moms and adult children, right?
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So there's a couple of things that I think are really important. What it boils down to through my experience over time and supporting the number of clients that I've had over the past 5-6 years is that the relationship that we have with ourselves is the foundational piece. So as moms, our hearts are always connected. If we have children, it's to our children for sure. And when things change as children grow older, which is, of course, what we want for them to be, moving out of the house, independent, all the great stuff. But if things don't turn out the way that we had envisioned, it's not. We need to look at what is something that we need to do or get to do differently in terms of that relationship if we want to continue to foster it. There's so much going on in the world. I get so many moms reaching out and sharing, I don't know what happened. My child no longer wants to talk to me. Like there's walls going up, like just very, very heavy heart things that are going on. And there's nothing we can do to change anybody else. The only person we have control over is ourselves. And so when we really, really gain the clarity and understanding and power in that, we have the opportunity to make choices and decisions that are best for us. And that is so, again, whoa, Denise, I can't do that. That's self-centered.
That's right.
We have to, because we can't change anybody but ourselves. And I'll tell you, I learned that eons ago when my first or second year of teaching. Hello. You can make a child sit down and put a pencil in their hand, but you cannot make them write that sentence.
That's right. Same goes with clients.
Like,
you
It's
know?
your journey. And so what do you want? And that's the whole idea that I've taken where you need to do things for you, by you, because of you, not in spite of,
Yes.
not because you're angry, not because you need to understand all of the emotions that are going on, why they exist, and what do you want to do about them, right? Yeah.
And I think even more in particular with our children, I think we have all these ideas and expectations for them that we miss seeing them as the person they are and letting them
Mhm.
be the person they are and meeting them where they are. Would you agree?
I definitely would. And the other piece that I think is really important is that does help for me anyway. You've had your opportunity. You've had those years.
Yeah.
And what did you need your parents to do when you were going through your stuff?
Yeah.
Not that they're the same person, but when we can take the time to reflect and go, oh, yeah, and let me say that when we intervene or want to save or want to do whatever to support our kids, it's coming from pure love, of course. But I want them to flip that and put the love back in their own heart, not to guide their children, but to be there to support. And we have two ears and one mouth for a reason, right?
Yes. I think a lot of the times we project a lot of our own stuff onto other people, even, our children as well, because, it's coming from a place of love, but there's a
Mhm.
fear that, oh my gosh, what if what I did, they do too. And so it's really being able to take a step back and trust that, this is their journey. And it's not our job to manage it. It's our job to take a step back and just be here as an ear, as a support, and just say,
Mhm.
how can I help? What can I do?
Yeah.
And it doesn't always mean we have to show up in a certain way, but just showing up and letting them know we're here however they need.
Well,
Mm.
it's interesting you say that because I believe in my experience again has been those that have gone through tough journeys really grasp the power in that. And
Yes.
those of us who are still working through, there's a lot of self-knowledge and a lot of work that gets to be done behind the scenes as an individual to recognize, "Oh, I'm living vicariously through my kids. I better step back," right? Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
totally, totally. And there's a whole maturity level and a whole experience opportunity that exists within that. Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm.
And I think there's, and this could go a lot of ways, but we'll keep it short. But, I think there's a lot of codependent mothers,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of
Mm-hmm.
mothers that are codependent on their children for their own meaning and their own purpose. And, I think it's important to allow everyone their own space, kind of like what we've talked about prior, because we all deserve to have that, to travel, to make our own mistakes, to learn from them, to figure out what it is we want and need, and not to feel like we have to kind of be in this box and do things a certain way for certain reasons. And I know for
Mm-hmm.
myself, last year when I moved to North Carolina and it was just me, boy, I had to take a hard look in the mirror because no longer was I a wife, a mother, carried the same roles, did the same things. And so I had to re identify with who the heck am I? What do
Mm-hmm.
I want? What do I
Mm-hmm.
need? And once I was able to do that, to your point, my relationships by nature
Yeah,
changed because now I wasn't dependent on others to fill me. I filled myself and they just added to that, right? They were the
totally.
creamer to my coffee. They weren't my coffee.
Yeah, 100%. And look at it took a life shift for you to be able to do that.
That's right.
So when there's opportunity for change, and I know what happens is a lot of women love the concept but are afraid. And
Yeah.
let me share, fear is part of the journey. We can't change the fear, but we can step into it. And you can talk with support people to say,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm scared. No problem. We get that. Who isn't scared on,
Right.
various things? That's our ego doing its job, helping us stay quote unquote safe based on what it can do, which is very limited. But boy, when we start taking, that doesn't mean you have to jump into the ocean when you can't even swim. We're
That's
not
right.
saying that. And we'll give you a raft. We'll give you more than a raft. We'll give you a boat. And then slowly, once you get comfortable with a big boat that you're safe in and it just feels like a vehicle on land, then we'll give you, the next step. And it might be a smaller boat. It might not be the raft because you're not ready. It doesn't matter. It's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And it doesn't take as long as people believe it's going to. Don't you find that?
I do find that.
Yeah.
I do find that. But I think part of the process, going back to your original point, is being able to recognize your progress, celebrate your progress, because that propels you forward, right? When we don't see it, we tend to get stuck in where we're at, where if we can recognize it, we keep going. And that could, that's a lot of that is really surrounding ourselves with the people that are, being our cheerleaders, reading things, getting inspired, surrounding ourselves with the good, because that's what keeps us on our path and keeps moving forward in the path we want to go. Right.
Right. Yeah. And I think what you talked about earlier with intention, I mean, the thing that I think is really important is that these things get to change. And when they are changing, it means you're growing, right? If you stay the same course and you don't, like, this is working for me. And you know what? If that is something, then you're feeling happy and everything's good with that safety, so be it. Then it's great. It's you keep doing you, but make sure that you keep doing you and not the expectations of which you have developed as your belief system. And that takes the work and the support networks and the communities that are available nowadays. And you'll know who your people are because it will resonate with you. You will feel rejuvenated. You will feel the excitement. You will feel the nervousness. You will feel the fear, but you will be fine because you know you're going to be okay.
Yes. Right? And it goes back to being aware of your body and how you feel.
Yeah.
If you listen, you can absolutely sense who you feel good around and who you don't. And it's important to listen to that because that's telling you, these are my people, these are not my people. And listening to that and following through with that, right? Yeah, I'm sure.
For sure.
This has been amazing. I this because everything you say, I completely resonate with because I've gone through it. I've experienced it. I have felt it. And in the deepest parts of myself. And, I say this to everyone, and I think it's really true. Everyone, and I think Sabrina actually is the one I had this conversation with last week, but people think once you get to the top, you've reached the gold line and you're done, right? Like you're done growing, you're where you're going to be, that's it. But the reality is we don't ever stop. Like that is our purpose in this world, right? Is to keep growing, to keep learning. And it doesn't mean we can't have abundance, but we're always going to feel things. We're always going to grow through things and learn things. What changes is it doesn't always feel as hard to get through the next thing. You can get through it faster. It's less intense, but you're always on that path of growth, right?
I totally believe that if and when the day comes that I'm no longer learning, then I'm probably finished with my last breath on earth, because I totally believe in learning and not book learning, but just learning about myself, about the world, about other people, about anything and everything. I mean, our toddler teaches me stuff as an 18, 19-month-old. I just watch and observe her and I'm like, whoa, how does that even happen? Like, so much. And so I totally agree with you on that. 100%. Yeah. There is no finish line.
There's no finish line, You just have to be open to letting everything come to you, right? Yep. Everything comes, let it come, and take it for what it is, for sure. So beautiful. So I always like to finish, and I'll let you choose, but I always like to end with, you can either pick what is your favorite quote, what is your favorite book, or what has been your best lesson. And you can answer all three if you want. Challenge. There's no rules. I get to decide, so you can pick any of
Oh my goodness. Oh, those are such great questions. I'm trying to think of the title of the book.
Okay.
It's with Morrie. It's it's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've read it. It should be way quicker for me to grab than that. Nine Lives with Morrie. It's I'll have to look it up. Oh my goodness. It's about a gentleman who's leaving the earth. And it's all about it's so good.
Oh, yes. It's with Morrie. M-O-R-R-I-E.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's 2 or 3 at least. And the one and it just came to me a couple days ago, and I don't know why, but I was like, I've got to bring that book back out because it was really good. So many good books. Oh my goodness. There's so many. I mean, it's really hard. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, seriously. I mean, so that was one. The latest one that I've read is the Matthew Perry one.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh. So good, but really allowed me some reflection about what people look like on the outside and what's really going on, and the depths of which people suffer without you even realizing, which is exactly why we do the work we do, right? Like we don't. 100%. Yeah. So anyways, it just
That's
magnifies.
That's another show.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. You're gonna make me cry because I'm like, Matthew Perry. That's where my tears like. Yeah. But yes, that is for another show.
I know. Take a breath. It's all good. And I really find a couple of things, a couple of quotes, and one is the one that seems to really resonate, and it goes to making sense for everybody, is taking time for you, by you, because of you. It's resonated so much that I've created a YouTube show out of it. I've got a journal on it. Like it just, people like, oh, I love that. And they remember it. So it's something that sticks, and it makes them think sometimes, really reflect, oh yes, I need to do something for me, by me, because of me. Right. And giving back to ourselves in ways that we just don't normally do. And then another quote that I think really helps me as well as many people is, when I have a thought and it doesn't leave, it's like, how does this serve me? Is the question. I love that. It's not a quote of, doing life. It's just interrupts the thought process. How does this serve me? So those are some things that really come through for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I'll put these in the show notes so everybody can access them. And I'd love to ask, how can people find you and your work?
If they see my name at the bottom, just make sure you spell it properly. Denise Drinkwalter with an L.
Okay.
DRINKWALTER and .com. And all my stuff.
That's easy enough.
All my stuff is there. And if any of the social media, I just use me. People were like, what's your business name? And I've just decided I do me. When you meet me, this is who I am. This is how we talk. This is what we do. So yeah, my business is me. I'm all real and authentic. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I think you're everywhere, right? I believe we talked about you have a YouTube channel, your own show.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, you can find me. It's called Redefining the Significance of You Time, for you, by you, because of you. It's not easy to find, I don't think, but it is there. And then, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, absolutely. I know people will be interested to learn more. So I will definitely put all that stuff in the notes for everybody. But again, thank you so much. This was absolutely wonderful. I've really enjoyed talking and getting to know you.
Yeah, it's been great. And you are so gifted and talented and have done so much that anybody would be able to learn so much from you. So thank you
Thank you.
for believing in yourself and trusting your journey in such a way that you've been open to so much growth and personal development in ways that only you know the depths of your soul. And congratulations, and keep being you.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Likewise, likewise. And I consider you a friend now. So please, let's stay in
Absolutely.
touch.
Absolutely.
Everybody, please, please, please make sure to go find Denise Drinkwalter. You will not be sorry. I've watched some of her YouTubes. They're amazing. She has a strong presence all over and definitely one you want to follow. And thank you so much for all the work you do and for spending this time with us today. We're truly grateful. And to
My
all of you
pleasure.
listening, so grateful for you as well. And thank you for choosing to take time out of your day to listen to the Self-Love Lounge. We'll see you again next week. Bye for now and love you to the moon and back all. Bye-bye.